Hi, welcome back to the Religion of Human Nature podcast. We have an awesome episode today with two people who searched for love in different places for them, but the similar places for us, meaning the television. And today's episode is entitled Reality of Love. I'm here with Sonia Granados. Am I saying that right, Sonia?
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. That's as good as probably my Spanish is, right? That was a big part of the show, and I was like, oh goodness, I could not have said any of those words. And Missy Holas, Missy, how you doing? How you feeling?
Really good.
All right, great. So we're going to jump right into it. Sonia, the first question is directed at you. Why a reality TV show to find love?
So I obviously, like, you never think you sign up for something, but you never think that you're going to be the one chosen. So I just went into it just hoping. At the time I was 33 and I was like, I've had terrible luck with men, like terrible. So I was like, I can't lose anything. So yeah, just mainly because I really, really, really wanted and still want love and that partnership. So yeah.
Okay, so just like another opportunity, another avenue to look. Missy,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Missy, was that your experience too? It's just like, why not?
Yeah, I was similar. I was 38 years old, and it's not that I was even finding bad guys. I actually didn't make time for it. I was truly in love with my job and just thought like he would show up at some point, and he never did. So I, said, well, and I truly started the process of them interviewing you, and you find a lot about yourself and what you're looking for and what you want, and I was like, there's no way they're going to pick me. In my head, they wanted a 20-year-old or even like someone in their early 30s. And then finally they were like, hey, you're on. And I was like, all right, let's try this. So at that point I was like, fuck it. Let's just try it.
Yeah. So yeah, I can understand that. I think that there's like people, I had one woman once at 24 say to me like, I just needed to find the husband already. I was like, at 24, I'm pretty sure I was still really drinking a lot more than I should be.
Same.
And then, yeah, but for everyone, that bug is sort of different, I guess, and willing to try different avenues. So Missy, the biggest thing about reality TV shows that comes to mind is sort of like the vulnerability of going through that experience in public, or it's not just in public, like rewindable public, right? So, did that play a role both in how you acted in front of the others in the spouse house, or were you more reserved at times? Cameras affect you? How did that play into it?
So in all honesty, I was very naive to the process. I didn't understand reality TV. At the first thing I remember walking in and there was a producer there asking me questions, and I'm like, what is she doing here? Like, why is she asking me these questions? Like, let me just walk into this house. So I went there, and yes, the cameras are there. I don't think I didn't say something that I wanted to or didn't hold back some things. I just I went for it and just kind of did my thing. I will say the cameras got to me probably on maybe the first week, like the first 4 or 5 days into it. It was too much. It's more the light. There's lights on at all times. No one's sleeping. And I really didn't know like who was authentic, like who was there truly for the right reasons, right? And I was like, are these people acting? Like, I thought there was like a joke on me. Like, we're gonna see how long it takes for Missy to like lose her shit. And so I literally was like, okay. And then I truly started to fall in love, and I was very vulnerable. And it's weird because, I mean, the show shows very slightly different concept of really what happened, but I let my walls down in that house, and I had never done it before.
So Sonia, same question. You show, as I was telling you before, I binged this season. I had seen a different season before, and you show every emotion throughout your journey. And obviously, they're picking from reality TV shows. They're picking and choosing, but it seems like even your experience during those weeks, you showed sort of every possible emotion you could. Was there a moment where you felt you were being too vulnerable? You were not opening up enough?
It was tough. It was really tough because and I even said it to Nick at the time. I said, I just really enjoyed getting deep conversations with the person that I'm with. Like, that's just brings joy. And he actually told me, well, I don't really do that depth stuff. Like, I'm just surface level. I was like, oh God, they couldn't have matched me with like the worst person for me. Like, that's just not who I am. Yeah, I don't know that he said it on the show, but he told me, and I was like, what do you mean, like surface level? Like, I can't do this. Like, this is weird. It's a weird thing to say too. So that was a little tough. So that kind of, I could have been more vulnerable, I'm sure, but I wasn't allowed with that. It just was always kind of fighting back.
Yeah, even his parents on the show said, like, he just doesn't open, like, that's just it. And he kept saying, stop saying that. And I'm sitting there like, no, you should, like, at least say, like, hey, how was your day? Like, that's normal.
Yeah. So the funniest thing, this is what so my friends were talking to his friends, obviously, in the wedding. And so my friends are like, well, tell me about him. Like, what is he like? Blah, blah. So this is his good friends, his like best friends. Stoic. That was the description of him.
He did seem to, in this, and you could speak to this, it seems like in your process, and Missy, from what the clips I saw also, even towards the end, it seems like both of the guys were wanting to open up, but didn't as much as the women. Is that something like you felt is maybe just to you both, or like men and women on the show come out of it maybe perceived differently, so their response to it is differently? I've been, you know, I've seen a handful of reality TV shows, and like oftentimes the women and men are portrayed very differently.
I can honestly say for mine, they wanted the women to either look like a bitch or look like they were like damsel in distress. And I hated that, because I was kind of played like kind of mean and standoffish, and I wasn't. I was emotional, and I was raw, and we talked deeply, and a lot of the men did too, but they never showed that. So yeah, I think you're right. I think they show what they want to show in that aspect of it.
Sonia, is that the same for you?
Yeah, I would say so. But for more, I think, and I feel like about speaking for everyone, but I think at least in Married at First Sight, I think for the most part, a lot of the women go in thinking, oh, this is going to be my fairy tale, whereas men, probably not so much.
Because you think they're experts, the experts have picked the perfect person for you, right? And
Absolutely.
So for the men, maybe they do go in like, okay, this is going to be a good time, and if I find her, great, and if I don't, whatever. And the women are like, oh my God, he found my dream man. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
And so
we had the most for Chicago. They said you're the most eligible men and women in Chicago. I'm like, really? This is okay, and not including myself. There's no way that I thought I was either, but I was like, okay.
For that show, Sonia, I felt the one anomaly I felt in your show is that like Derek, who like, you know, marriage ended after like 16 seconds. He seemed like he wanted to be vulnerable. I mean, that's the impression. No? Okay. All right, we don't have to share tidbits, but so let's talk a little bit about love and marriage. So both of you, which is not true of most, I would say the average of people who go on these dating shows or marriage shows, you both left with someone, although neither of you are, spoiler alert, neither of you are still together with those people unless something's happened within my last reading of your articles. But to my knowledge, you both are not with the people you chose to stay with after the show. So tell me about the process between love and marriage, because you both were married, and were you in love? And if so, are those two things, do they always go hand in hand? And I prefaced you before the show in that we're seeing all sorts of new relationships today in the world, where people are making different decisions than we've ever seen before than just hand in hand in marriage. And it's more fluid. And so what was sort of your experience with that? And were you in love when you left, or were you hopeful to be in love and you were just in marriage?
I'll let Missy go first.
So we didn't, Married at First Sight, they get married, you know, that day. Chris and I had left together, and I was in lust. I thought I was in love for sure. And come to find out I was, but at that moment I remember thinking like, what is this? What am I feeling? Like, it kind of threatened us to stay, kind of go. Like, I just thought it would be better outside in the real world. And it was. We left not being married, and then we got married in real life a year and a half later. So I was 100% in love with him. We are since divorced. I'm still in love with him, but I am moving on and healing from that.
Okay, fair.
I never got to be in love with Nick. I do love him, and I still do love him. Like he'll always be a big part of my story. But I never got there with him, sadly. Yeah. And I think he did, but it was already the end after so much of me trying, and then I was just like just disappointed, and I didn't have any more to give.
Yeah, it seemed like every time you two went on a vacation, you were better. But I would think that'd be true of every couple ever, right? Like, yeah, like when there's no real life or job, two people can pretty much coexist. But then you have to. I'll tell you, Sonia, I would never have volunteered to live on the bus with the other guy.
Yeah.
That was just, I don't know. He seems like a wonderful guy, but I think that would be a deal breaker for anyone. Missy, and the other couple. The man wanted the woman to live on a bus with him. So
we had someone on our show that they lived on a boat, so I can kind of
yeah, that's fair. It's Chicago. It's only in the winter. I mean, in the summer.
Exactly. So that was a problem in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of people that can do that can live like that, and I wouldn't be able to, but I like so admire that. Like, oh, that's so freeing, and like it's amazing.
So let's stay on that topic. So compatibility for both of you, what is a major piece of finding love on these shows, right? Like there's much to choose from or to be chosen for you. How does that like? It seems to me, at least from the viewer, it seems to me everything is rushed. I think at one point in the show, and I've said this about like summer camp, it's like a day is a week and a week is a month and a month is a year. And so when you date someone for 2 months at a summer camp, it's like dating for 2 years, right? It feels like that because you're with each other so often. So where are the the pieces of compatibility you both sort of sought out or didn't see that were, sort of troubling?
Do you want to go or do me?
You can go.
So ours was, we were, because people thought I was crazy. Like I left after 5 weeks. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to marry him. 6 weeks. And I'm like, I will marry him. And they're like, Missy, you don't even know him. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, we talk for 16 hours a day. Now you go on a date with somebody, you go on 3 hours, you might talk through text or whatever, but you're not even spending 16 hours in a week together. So, I would have been the same person before the process, but after the process, like I loved it. When do you have that besides quarantine time right now is to really truly talk to someone and get to know them. And, Chris and I were dead opposites of each other. I think that like our first conversation, I remember thinking like, there's nothing that we have in common. And that was okay. That was, he always said like, you're floating in the sky and I'm bringing you down. Like, I loved it. Like there's so many things that I didn't think I needed before I walked into that house. And then he showed me that I did.
That's amazing. Oh, my story's gonna suck right now. So I actually, we were very, very different. But I think in me trying to bring him up and like, just be excited about life, I was coming down.
Stoic.
Yeah. So it wasn't good for me. Like I'm very sensitive to like different like moods and different. So he brought me kind of down. So it wasn't really.
Okay. No bueno. What about life lessons learned? What's the biggest takeaway that you've learned about yourself or learned about love, or both, from this process, and maybe post?
Well, I think post, like watching the show, it showed something very different than what I thought had happened, right? Like what I lived, my true life, versus what was shown. And I had difficulty with it because I'm like, my mom even said like, Missy, I can't believe you did that or said that. I'm like, well, I didn't, like that didn't happen, but I think that I definitely learned to slow down and to truly love where I'm at in that moment. And and it's truly love. Like I hadn't been in love up until that point. And it's such the greatest feeling, right? So it doesn't matter where you find them. It's just a matter of like how you get there, I guess. And our story was just that, right? Like some people meet in the grocery store, some people meet at church, and some people meet online, right? I met on a reality TV show.
Right.
But you learn a lot about yourself in those moments. And I think I learned more just from falling in love with him, about myself and how I can become a better human daily. Not the TV show, but through him.
Sonia?
I would say that I grew so much in terms of loving myself before loving a man. Because I think that's something that I struggled with. I would give a lot of chances, like, oh no, but I understand it, but I understand that, but I understand And now I'm at a point where after the fact, I'm just like, no bullshit. Just, I don't like something or I'm not really, nope, gone, that's it. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me, and amazing, because this wasn't what I was.
Fair. Advice for others who want to go on a dating or marriage reality TV show?
You never know what can happen. Try it. Just go in with open eyes and open heart and an open mind. And it might not be for you. I will say some of it's a hard process for sure. Because there's reality to it. And then there's obviously a little bit of like, can we redo that? Can we say that again? Can you talk about this? And, those aren't things to me real, but the reality of it is it's still real, right? Like those moments are still happening. And then also to not read too much into it, and just have fun with it. And I know a couple people that have married. I know a couple people that are dating and reality TV, and it can work. We've seen it work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say to add to that, just don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Like, be vulnerable. Be just open yourself up to the possibility. And like Missy said, just have fun. Enjoy those moments, because chances are that probably they won't come back ever again of you being in a reality show. And how cool is that? It's really cool. It's a cool story to tell, when we're older and oh, I did this. And so just be present, be vulnerable. But overall, regardless of what happened, I had an amazing experience. I just grew so much and made a lot of friends.
Same.
That's great. All right, last question. I know this is going to be a little tougher for Missy because she's got a lot more going on probably than us. But how do you find love during quarantine?
That has been a real pain in my arse. It's been interesting. So I'm on a few dating sites, and I've done one phone call, a video chat. It was cool, but it's been pretty difficult, almost impossible.
And Missy, you're in love with two others, but they're sleeping next to you right now.
I'm in love with my 4-month-old twins, one baby boy, one baby girl, and that's where my life is now. And I, like I said, I don't think I'm ready to date. I haven't been there since my divorce, and I see love in my future at some point. But for right now, these guys get my full attention, and I'm so in love with them.
As they should. Thank you both so much. This was so informative and interesting. And the point of the podcast is to have different topics that are big that people really want to know about from really interesting perspectives. And I think you both were perfect guests for this topic. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Sonia.
You too.